the host of Stand Up and Speak Out, Mr. and Mrs. Charles and Glenda Collins!
Hello, and welcome to Stand Up and Speak Out. We have real nice guests today, and we're honored just to have everybody here to listen and know about nutrition. And I can't tell you a whole lot about it, but I thank God that this lady is here, and I'm not going to be the one that's going to introduce her today, but I'm going to let my wife do that pleasure. But we want to let you know that the purpose of this talk show is for the youth to take something that's literally nothing and turn it into something incredible. At this time, we're going to turn the mic over to my wife, Prophetess Glenda Collins.
Thank you all for joining us on Stand Up and Speak Out. It is an honor to be here, and we're so glad to have this special person here who I want to say, I think, will turn lives around. The information that she's going to share with us today, I believe if we would just take it to heart and just do some of the things and find out how much we can really help our own selves, we're going to be able to make a change in everyone's life. So without delaying anymore, we have Dale here today, and she is a nutritionist, a holistic nutritionist. She's going to tell us with her experience and her knowledge on how to make a difference in our life with the things that we eat, what we put in our bodies, some of the things that we wouldn't even imagine. And we hope not only for the young people, because, you know, in the Bible it says that this promise is unto all of us and generations to come. We want to make our generations better. But even for those older people who may have some sickness and illnesses that they're dealing with, we're hoping that this information that we get today will change your life, will turn it around, let you know that you don't have to be sick, you don't have to have all these illnesses. So at this time, we're going to call for Dale to come, and she's going to help our planet. Come on, let's clap for her to come. All right, one of the things that we talked about is how there's so many different illnesses going around, and there's so much that if we only knew, tell somebody, if you only knew, if you only knew how you can make your life different. So we have Dale here today, and I want her to tell a little bit more. We know she's a nutritionist, and some people may not understand what holistic means, and so we want you to talk a little bit about that and share with the audience some of your experience and your skills.
Hi, I just wanted to let you know I'm grateful to have this platform, and hopefully we are able to make a difference in a lot of our communities where this information has not been readily available. Again, my name is Del. Idormo Plaisir is my formal name, and I have been a practitioner of naturopathic medicine, holistic medicine, probably more so for over 20 years. I started in my youth just not being happy with some of the nutrition that I was given. I do come from parents who are from the islands, so we did go to nature to bring in a lot of our needs whenever we were sick, myself and my brothers. I remember my father's mother used to make something which was as simple as lettuce tea, and for a tummy ache and fever. And it started me to think that perhaps nutrition was more than just the food that we cooked in the kitchen. Nutrition was more than going to the grocery store and getting a bunch of goods that we had no idea where it came from, what was the function of it. And as I got a little older, I was on and off a vegetarian, vegan, and many years later, I became a formal vegetarian with vegan ways. Very, very big component of raw veganism, raw lifestyle eating, as it serves a purpose, especially for people of color, for us to eat more holistically, more from the vine, which is probably how our ancestors very much ate. We didn't have kitchens, nor did we need to cook. We came from warmer regions where our food was readily available upon the trees and in the leaves. So after that, going through college, I had studied under some of the wonderful master teachers of, I had a wonderful professor who led me on this path, who is Professor Jeffries from CCNY in New York City. Also, he's a great fan of Layla Africa, Dr. Layla Africa. Also, I've studied under Jewel Brookman. I'm a fan of Dr. Valentine, and there's a list of other people, and also we'll get into that a little later. But this is what brought me to the point in my life where I felt that we needed to go back to our ancestors to find the answers for the ailments that are now systemic in our communities and causing a lot of sadness and depression and anxiety in our local communities and in our way of life. And I feel like this information is something that would service everyone.
Yeah, yes, it does.
Well, as you can tell, all the information that she has is going to make a big difference. And there are some terms that we may be using that some people may not be familiar with. So we want to kind of break some of those down. For instance, what's the difference in a vegan and a vegetarian? Because a lot of people don't know that. And you can just talk into that like that.
A vegetarian still does consume some animal products such as eggs and dairy, some formulated dairy, as opposed to a vegan who does not sustain in any animal consumption. There isn't any eggs, not even honey. Their base of nutrition is purely from the plants and fruit based. So that's the difference between the two. A vegetarian still partakes in eating of occasional eggs and dairy. A vegan does not partake in any animal consumption whatsoever.
Wow, okay. Did anybody learn something today? Because I just did. I did not know the difference there. Okay, so now we know the difference. And what would you say is the benefit in being a vegan or a vegetarian? And I think I may need to give you this mic again.
Okay. Well, there's several different benefits to partaking in a vegetarian and vegan diet, but we'll start with some of the really important values of it. Is that just our system is hampered by the overconsumption of meats, and I don't want to use flesh as a product, but when you consume a lot of meat, which is not natural for anyone to do, generally you'll see a general person will eat meat at least 3 or 4 times a day. In order to digest that meat, it takes a process. Sometimes it takes, for one burger, it takes about 5 years for that to fully process in your body and break down. And 5 years. 5 years. They have done post-mortem examinations on persons, and meat has still been undigested in their colon and in their digestive tract. So just the process of eating meat, every time you consume any form of meat, it does have to break down and it decomposes. And in that decomposition, there's a lot of chemical imbalances that occur, especially with the release of ammonia, which happens with the body, or a flesh that is decomposing in your body. And what that does is cause long-term ailments. A lot of your depreciation of your bone mass and some of your neurological problems have to do with the overconsumption of flesh or meat. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so in just taking that, and I know our pastor has a lot of questions here, and I'm loving this. You know, there is a scripture that talks about, you know, that everything we take, we ought to take it, you know, and pray over and bless it and everything, so people feel like they can eat anything. And I'm sure we can, but what we want to find out is how to make our bodies more healthy. And a part of that, from what I understand you're saying, is a better consumption of fruits and vegetables. We also have a table here, which on our next segment after our break, we'll go over to the table and we'll have a chance to look at all the different products that you brought as well. But I want you to, look right into that camera and really speak to some people even more about how their bodies can be more healthy and what they can do.
Okay. Well, we can start off with just as we would with water, or if you have ever been in a pool or a spa, we always test the pH. And you always say, what's the pH of something? If the alkalinity is too high or too low, you add a chemical. Well, our bodies work pretty much as almost exactly the same, identical to that. We have to be mindful of our pH within our body. Our body does work, but there's a lot of chemicals that are processed in digestion. And if we want to discuss some of the things, let's talk about some of our vegetables and meat sources. And what a lot of doctors, Western medicine does not discuss is that the consumption of eating meat, which is acid-based, with some starches, causes digestional issues. Now, if we want to consume healthier food, we have to understand what is an acid-based food, and we have to understand what is maybe a starch. A lot of your starches, and I don't want to pick on McDonald's, I'm sorry, Ronald. I'm going to start with McDonald's, and I think when Ronald McDonald came about, I think it caused a lot of systemic issues and a lot of health issues to us that we don't even realize, and that we're seeing a lot of the results now in our communities. Eating a hamburger, per se, with French fries. Now, French fries are also fried in an oil, and most likely corn oil, which is a genetically modified oil. And that's a starch you're also consuming with an acid food. And what that does in your body is that the starch kind of slows down your digestion, and we already discussed that meat takes a long time to process and break down. It can be in your body and that's the least amount of time where it can stay in your body a lot longer. So what you want to begin to do is, I say with everyone who's starting to discuss health, let's start to talk about things that are green and leafy. That's probably where our ancestors started the base of their consumptions. So when we talk about kale and collard greens, which is big, mustard greens and spinach and dandelion, those are phenomenal greens, and they also assist with processing and helping to break down foods in your body. They have good pH and a lot of alkalinity. Now when I say alkalinity, you're thinking what's alkaline. Alkalinity is that pH formula that we talked about again. That's when you have a good alkalinity in your body, somewhere from 7.2 to 7.9, we can discuss those numbers later, your body functioning, the chemicals in your body are happy. It's keeping your body balanced, and that's when you have healthy digestion, where everything's easily moving through the intestines, it's being processed quickly and efficiently, and it's going right through, and everything that you're needing to get for nutritional and vitamin source is coming through, and everything that's waste will go out easily. Now, when we overconsume one or the other, you'll get an imbalance, and that's when you'll see your alkalinity really low and a high acid diet. Soda's a high acid, coffee is another acid. If you do these things in balance, it's okay. But if you're having a lot of one and the least amount of greens, a lot of us don't eat many greens. And if you just started your meal with a salad, which that's what they do in the restaurants, there's a reason for that. If you started with a lemon water, lemon helps to alkaline your water, something as simple as lemon. You start with a nice cup of lemon water and a salad, that will help in the digestion of everything afterwards. So it'll help with the alkalinity. So when we talk about health, we want to add in more natural foods. Now, why I am a fan of raw veganism is because whenever you have a vegan diet and you eat raw, and when I say raw, it's not raw meat, it's not raw sushi, no, we're not talking about that, we're talking about from the vine. Something that has not been cooked or processed, something that God made. And God made those things for us. to consume. So once you take that peach or that apple from the tree, once you pick that pear, your body doesn't think about it. It knows what it is and it processes it and it goes. And if you have a raw-based diet, you will find that your mind will be clearer, you'll have more clarity because you're not processing food, and also your functioning of your bodies will be higher. Your amount of energy will be dispersed a little easier. You'll find that you're able to do things in a quicker manner and more efficiently because your body is not hampered by processing anything. A fruit and a vegetable and a green or a herb, your body knows what it is, it processes it, and filters it out.
Let me, and I'm gonna give it to you to take up. The fresh, she's saying raw, and I know more people may be familiar with fresh, off the tree, out your garden, everything. I've also read some studies where people just started to eat from the garden, and it turned around everything. You know, it didn't matter if it was cancer, if it was diabetes, or whatever. And we're going to talk a little bit more specifically on diabetic things. One of the things we put on the flyer was information on diabetes, as well as, you know, AIDS and cancer and things like this. Just in our conversation, we found out there's so many things we can turn around in our systems if we just go back to eating basis. There's a song out that said, let's go back to eating. You know, we just need to go back to eating and eat like God planned for us to eat. And I love what she said. For all those that are, I call them meat eaters, it's not saying you can't eat meat at all, but it's saying that let's have a balance. Let's not overeat. And she said 3 and 4 times a day. Now we know big hunks of meat and things like that. We don't have to. If we would just taper it and eat a little more salad and things like that. And I'm going to turn it over to you because I know you have some questions.
Yeah, she knows she got my book. She knows she got my book. I'm like, oh my Lord. So my question to you, you're saying that it take meat 500 years?
No.
Or 5 years?
It could do that.
5 years?
Yes, it could do that.
5 years to digest?
Absolutely.
Wow. Now, and then not only did you say the meat, I'm thinking now, here's the good things that I'm doing. Now, when I go to the restaurant, I do ask for lemon water. Yeah, I do ask for that. And I do, so that's okay. That's a good thing. Okay. And I do just consume salads first.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I had to think about the thing. Says, ooh. So what meats do you? Well, the first question. Let me say this. The first question, so that our audience will know, what are some of the replacements for? Because that would be protein, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. What are some of the replacements for the protein?
Well, the misconception is that we don't need to replace protein. Protein is something that they've advertised and indoctrinated into the population. Protein is something that has been misconstrued, and I want to get into that a little bit. It is necessary for our body to process protein. We do need a certain source of protein, but not how you may think. Protein can be created by yourself if you have good chemistry in your body. We have people in sub-Saharan Africa who have very limited resources, limited food, drinks, and they have a good amount of protein that's being processed in their body that they're creating themselves through sunlight. But that's another conversation. Protein can be, if you're partaking or you're thinking to partake into a vegetarian diet or a vegan-based diet, you get your protein as if the animals that live in trees, as such the squirrels, the chipmunks, and a lot of them, they go to, what do they go to? They go to the nuts and the seeds. Okay, so you can get some of your protein source from the seeds. Sesame seeds are wonderful. Also, I love pumpkin seeds, which are antifungal. Pumpkin seeds, the consumption of pure raw pumpkin seeds can get rid of a lot of your diseases. If you consume pumpkin seeds, I'm saying not natural, not raw based. When I say raw, it means it hasn't been cooked and altered in any way. Whenever you cook something, you alter its natural biological component. And by cooking it, your body won't readily recognize it. That's why it's important to go back to base, as we discussed before, raw. So when you get raw pumpkin seeds in there, it's an antifungal, and that's your protein source, and it will help to stop actually some forms of the beginning of cancer, which cancer is a fungus. We'll get into that a little later. You can get them from nuts. I love pecans. Pecans are phenomenal. I love walnuts, which are good for brain functioning. Be mindful of cashews. I come from an island where cashews have been processed and manufactured. Cashews come from a very acid nut. Big nut, looks like a big coconut, and there's acid inside. So I'd be careful with, a lot of people eat a lot of cashews, look very gassy. So be mindful of that. But those are where you get your protein sources, and you do not need as much protein as the FDA pronounces. That is an advertising gimmick. That is something to cause the masses to purchase and to consume things and to shop a certain way. We have to be mindful that because it's advertised as so, or you hear a promotion of something, doesn't mean it's necessarily true or relevant to you. And again, depending on your background and your DNA component, people of color consume protein differently, and we process protein differently. That's why if you're more based and you're from parts of West Africa or East Africa, again, eating meats and dairies will hamper your system. That's where we're seeing an issue with diabetes and osteoporosis in our communities and heart disease.
What are those two things again? What
Dairy and meat sources. Okay, and what you'll see with meat, when we're talking about types of meats that might be good for you to consume, I say if you're going to consume meat, be mindful. Be mindful of where that animal has been reared. Back in the days on farms, mom and daddy went in the farm, he killed that cow, and you ate that cow, that one cow, and you knew what he was grazing. You fed him every day, you gave him the hay. That doesn't happen anymore. We're getting these animals, these abused animals from facilities where you're not getting one cow in that source of meat, you're getting 50 of them. And a couple of those cows may be unhealthy, might have been mistreated and heinously killed. And that tightness, that's when your meat is really, really tough. It's because that animal has been killed in a very heinous way and he stiffened up when he died. What I suggest is if you'd like to consume meat that's healthier for you and more holistic and more humanely slayed, I say to go to the community where they kill or they slay those animals more healthy, and also they feed them correctly, which is not corn-based, which would be free graze. So you would go to halal meat, which a lot of the Muslim community does eat, and and there's a reason why they consume that is because the meat, the animal has been killed very lightly, they don't know that they're passing away, and they go, and the meat is very tender. Also, kosher, which is the same process, just different prayer over it. And they do pray and do a prayer over it. And I'm always a fan of prayer over everything. Just giving, gratefulness to that life that was given to be able to give nutrition to your family. Be mindful of pork. Pork is a GMO. And we'll go into pork as, and you'll hear a lot of that biblically, and people don't know where it comes from, but I'm going to give you the real reason why the pig is not the most healthy thing, and the chicken is just as unhealthy as the pig. Wow. And that's something they promote in our community. Come on now. Okay. Chickens and pigs are on the same line of unsanitary creatures. They both do consume their own fecal matter, which is a problem. You don't ever want to consume something that eats its own waste, number one. Chickens are GMOs. If you're going to consume a chicken, be mindful that most of the chickens, including Purdue chickens mostly, are the white chickens with red eyes. Those chickens are unnatural. We don't even recognize it in our body, in our communities. They promote that. If you go to KFC a lot, you'll find that you have a lot of issues with your skin, with your brain functioning afterwards. I guess that term chicken head came for a reason. It did, it literally did, because whenever you consume a lot of chicken, you'll have neurological problems later on. And a lot of our mental issues in our communities stems from us eating a lot of chicken. That is not a natural bird. It has been created in a laboratory and has been cloned over and over again, and that is called a genetically modified organism, GMO. And you've heard a lot of people protesting against GMOs in our community. The bird that you want to consume is a fowl. He's brown. He looks more natural, and he's less of a little cleaner of a bird, a bigger bird, and they don't produce that bird as much anymore because it takes a lot to maintain it. It's a smarter bird, first of all, because it's not been genetically modified, and it grows at a slower rate. And how they make most chickens grow quickly is by giving them hormones, which we all know.
So now, when you're talking about the different types of chicken, is that the white chickens, all the white chickens?
Absolutely. Those are
Oh, my Lord.
and anything that you're buying in most urban communities are those white chickens. If you're buying white eggs, those are those chickens. Brown eggs generally come from a different genetic bird. That's why you tend to consume the brown eggs. It does better for your body.
So the brown eggs that's in the stores?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay,
10
gotcha.
cents more per dozen, but
It's better
it's
for
phenomenal
your
for your body.
Okay, so the different types of, where would we find those different types of chicken? I mean, are they in the stores or?
Okay. Well, this is where, that's where I say it poses a problem, because that is not something that's readily available. You could go to certain places. Now, I'm from New York originally. In Brooklyn, New York, they used to have, where my mother used to go to a place in Brooklyn, they had the chickens in the back, and they would slay them right there in front of you and take them home, and that was a brown chicken.
Oh, okay.
Africans generally had those stocks of chicken in local communities. I'm newer to Orlando. I'm not quite sure if they have those. That's where you would probably find them. Whole Foods, though I am a fan and I do shop there for my goods, they don't have that readily available. So what you have to decide is you're going to have to pick your poison. If you're going to consume chicken, make sure it's free graze. Make sure it's organic. Make sure, if you can't consume it that way, if you're going to consume that white chicken, you should not be having chicken more than once a week. If you're having more chicken every day, you're going to find that, especially pregnant women, you're going to have issues with your child, with their skin when they're born. Also, you're going to find some neurological problems. Autism can be based on that because of the antibiotics that they're giving in the feed to the chickens. A lot of that comes from that. So I say if you're going to consume it, which most people will, I say once a week is healthy. And you can process that and get rid of that with you adding salads, fresh greens in there, some collard greens, some fresh vegetables and fruit. You can process that out of your body fairly quickly.
Okay. So you're saying less of it?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So by putting it in salads, like in like chunks, I mean just little slices, that could be better than consuming it whole.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And be mindful of
How chicken is, fried chicken, why fried chicken could be so toxic to your body is because of the nature of the oil on the chicken, because oil is a lubricant. Also, it helps preserve. So when that chicken is going into your body with oil all over it, it doesn't break down. It takes a while because it's lubricated in this, almost like a lubricant that keeps it preserved in its package. And even though you have acid in your stomach, it's going to take a while to break down. So it's best to have broiled chicken, baked chicken, if you're going to do that.
Oh, okay, so yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. The way it's cooked, so absolutely not fried.
I say that loosely. You know, people are going to fry.
Right,
if you're going
right.
to fry, then we have to go into the nature of oil. So, that, you know.
I mean, we want to be realistic to our communities and to people who are really health conscious or want to try. We don't want to go stock cold turkey because you're most likely going to go back to those old habits because it's what you've known and learned.
Yeah.
So if you're going to fry chicken, let's go back to what you're frying it in. Are you doing it in corn oil or vegetable oil, or do you want to do it a little more naturally in other oils that may be easier to process?
Okay.
So corn oil, let's go to that, because most people fry, I think, of vegetable oil or corn oil. And if we have people in the room who are frying with vegetable oil, does anyone know what's in that vegetable oil? It says vegetable. Does anyone know what's the primary oil in that vegetable oil? Anybody? No? Okay. So we have several oils that are mixed together, which is a no-no. You never mix different oils together, number one, because one oil may be a trigger for another oil to do something else. It's almost like a chemical, like a biology project. Okay, so if you're to fry your chicken, why we want to avoid corn oils, because it's genetically modified. Most corn that you get nowadays is not from anywhere or natural to anything. It has been genetically modified over and over and over again. And why we find that most people get sick and get a lot of gastric issues is because the animals are consuming corn as opposed to free grazing on grass and what have you. So corn oil is something you want to avoid. Vegetable oil is a combination of several oils. Sometimes canola, which is another genetically modified, even though they're promoting canola as healthy, it's not. It's genetically modified. Your ancestors didn't know corn oil. They never processed. It's nothing your body would recognize, especially if you're a person of color. Corn oil as well. You want to go to olive oil, which is friendly to your body. Olive oil is phenomenal. If you want to get olive oil, go cold pressed. And a friend of mine says, what's cold pressed? There's different processes that each oil to make it in the process of making oils they go through. Cold press is the least processed oil, and your body will love it. Wow. And it will benefit from any minerals in that oil because it can pull from it, as opposed to being another kind of press where it's heated up and it's been destroyed of any minerals that you could absorb. Okay, so if you want to fry your fried chicken, we say go to olive oil. Okay. I'm a fan of grapeseed oil. It doesn't fry well though. Grapeseed oil is another thing. Hemp oil, which is another thing. Hemp oil is another phenomenal. Hemp is one of those natural herbs that a lot of people are pushing now. It's great for protein source as well. But hemp oil, which is a little more costly, but remember, if we're talking about cost to value now, you can spend 30 cents or 40 cents or $1 more for your oil, or you can later have breast cancer and so on, which will come out of pocket maybe $20,000, $30,000 or more, maybe more later. So I say to people, pick your poison. You live healthier now, pick a little better oil, spend that $1 more that you would have spent on something else, and you live a better, prosperous life.
Let me just say to our audience as well, we already know olive oil is good. How many of you all are already using olive oil? Okay. So when we go to get our blessed oil, see, you know, we just buy a bigger package and use that. As a matter of fact, I was reading a study that the Greek people were some of the most healthiest people because they use olive oil on everything all the time. You can use olive oil on your salads. You can put olive oil in your foods. You can just use olive oil for everything. And, you know, as Christians, you know, I grew up in a Pentecostal setting, really strong, and they didn't play about that olive oil. I mean, it was called blessed oil. You did everything with blessed oil. If your hair wasn't growing, you put olive oil in your hair. If you had sores, you put olive oil on that. If you thought something was going on in your system, I've seen them turn the bottles up, okay? And I mean, seriously, I've seen it work, you know. So yes, I would just encourage that even more. I never would have thought about frying with olive oil, though. I just didn't even think you could do that. But I go to the store sometimes and I see this huge gallon of olive oil. I'm like, who would ever use that much olive oil? Now I understand. I mean, I bought the big, you know, 32 ounces or whatever. But recently, and this is kind of a commercial, I've been going to the International Food Store. And they have everything. I'm so excited. I don't know if you all know, but I always say I'm going to live to be 107. Amen. And whatever it takes for me to do that within the realms of God, that's what I plan to do. So if that means changing over to everything, we don't fry in my house unless it's ground turkey. That's the only thing we fry in our house anyway. So now that I know we can use olive oil, you know, and I really want to look right into this camera, into the audience and say, let's live long and let's do whatever we can do to change. We have a member of our church who has her own garden, and that's a way, you know, let's try to get you know, back to the freshness of everything. And as we see, Dale has a plethora of information for us to really learn. And we want to come back. We're going to take a little break. And we're going to come back with some questions as well, and dig a little more deeper into getting our community out of the diabetic coma. Diabetic. All right, and we'll be back after these messages.
Would you like to market your business or ministry on the social network sites such as Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, but have no time or knowledge to do so? Allow More Images to manage it for you. More Images will create flyers, commercials, and more. More Images also sets up websites for only $109.95, which includes training. For more information and a free quote, call Allison Moore at 407-334-6964.
Hello, welcome back to Stand Up and Speak Out. We're here with Dale on this evening, and we're talking about the nutrition. And I had a question that I wanted to ask Ms. Dale. Now, you talked about the when you talk about sunflower seeds. Are sunflower seeds pretty good protein?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. And greens. What? All the greens are real good?
Well, a lot of them are. If we're talking about greens, you want to go for the greenest,
The thicker leaves, such as the collards, are really good. Mustard greens. Dandelion root is great for filtering out the liver. If you go in certain, again, I'm from New York, you used to see the little Italian ladies go into the grass and pick out dandelions. And I used to think to myself, what are they doing? That looks a little, I just thought maybe, but they were pulling it up from the roots. And what it was is that it's a phenomenal thing to filter out your immune system, and also great for your liver. And they knew it was a free thing that God gave, and it's the one thing that people kill in their gardens are dandelions. Wow. And who would have known something considered a weed is something for healing? So dandelion root is phenomenal. You want to get spinach, and also make sure if you're eating your greens, you're alternating them. You don't want to eat collards every day or every other day, because your body starts to almost like get too complacent with something, and it may cause some chemical reaction. So you want to kind of be balanced in what you pick. Do spinach one day, do a collard one day. The collards you generally cook, but I say if you want to keep it as healthy as possible, dice them up and throw them into your salads, your regular spinach salads and so on. Arugula is very nice. Stay away from iceberg. Iceberg is exactly that. It has no nutritional value. It just makes it look good, and they throw it in salads and places, and it's dense, and it has no nutritional value. Zero. And that's why it's fairly cheap. But you want it, the greener it is, the better it is for your body. And the more melanation you have, when I say melanation, the more color you have as a person of color, the greener, the better for you. What happens is that because we are from warm regions, we almost work like the plants. We go through a photosynthesis process, especially when we go to sleep. And the more greens that you consume actually helps to filter out all the chemicals in your body. So actually, God made people browner. It actually makes them live a little longer, makes their bones a lot stronger than most. And also it allows you to regenerate yourself quicker than most people. If you get sunlight. Sunlight is important. The one thing that most people of color may avoid is sunlight, and that is probably the thing we should get the most, and you get a lot of nutrition from sunlight.
So you're saying vitamin D is the best?
Absolutely, and the good old-fashioned way. Yeah. Good old-fashioned way.
Let me ask the question with the dandelion. You said that there were women that were going out picking the dandelion. Can you tell us a little bit more about how they were using them?
Absolutely. You can use dandelion roots for how they use it in a number of ways. You can take dandelion leaves and steep it in a nice tea and mix a nice tea. and it actually gets rid of it. It actually helps with a bit of diabetes as well. It's phenomenal for all things. It boosts your immune system. It's great for your liver functioning. So you have men who have prostate issues, I would suggest you get in your hibiscus leaves, which is what people make some teas with as well, and also your dandelions. It helps with the process because as men get older, the prostate loses a little bit of its functioning, and sometimes that area can become more toxic than not, depending on what he's consuming or what have you. And dandelion root is phenomenal for that. So you take the leaves, if you pick it out from the garden, I say, you don't have to buy it, ladies or gentlemen. You can go right at it anywhere, and I'm sure people would even let you go pick them because they just want to kill them anyway. So I say you go and pick your own dandelion leaves, and those are not genetically modified, so anywhere you pick them, as long as they're not spraying chemicals on them, you pick those and you take those leaves, and if you want to dice them up and put them over a salad, they're nice. It's very bitter. I juice them. It's a very acquired taste, to say the least, but it is phenomenal, and you feel it right away. You feel it right away, and that general rule of thumb when you eat is if you consume anything and you are tired, that means you are not getting anything from it. You should not be sleepy or lethargic after you eat. Eating is for fuel. When you consume, it is to rev you up. If something you are consuming, you know, all that wonderful soul food we have during Thanksgiving and all that wonderful mac and cheese, you know, everybody wants to go to sleep. Everyone wants to take a nap and then get up and eat again, and then go back to sleep and eat again. Okay, that's something we have to be mindful of. If you are eating anything and it is making you tired, you need to change something about that. Food is for fueling. You would not put something to put your car to sleep, would you? You want it to move. So you want to put fuel in your body that makes you move. Greens do that.
Okay, good. Wow.
Okay, now you mentioned something about hibiscus. I'm familiar with, because I just heard something about hibiscus tea.
Yes.
That's supposed to help with high blood pressure. Okay, where do you find hibiscus?
Hibiscus is usually in the sorrels. You'll see it in sorrel. A lot of West Indians, I'm not sure if any West Indians are in the room. People from the islands, hibiscus is one of those herbs that they make for drinks, sorrels and what have you, and those are yummy. They're phenomenal for high blood pressure, and you can find that anywhere, and actually it's very inexpensive. It's about I don't know, for let me see, about 8 ounces or less. It's like $2 and change, sometimes $3, and you can make it yummy. Turns the water red, and again, we talked about the coloring of things. The brighter and deeper the color, the better it is for you. So when you steep that, or you make a nice iced tea, whenever I make iced tea, oh, and this is something I forgot to add, one of my favorite herbs is, one of my favorite things to add to my iced tea, which is something nobody does rarely, is, oh goodness, baby on the brain. It'll come to me in a minute. It's one of my favorite things to add to a tea, and it's actually an anti-cancer. It's soursop leaves. Soursop. I heard her over here, and she knows what it is. Soursop. You're an island gal. All right, you know what it is. Okay, soursop, which is heavily used in the West Indies. Soursop is phenomenal for anti-cancer. I add those leaves to my iced tea, and I do not do iced tea with black tea. We'll get into that later. I do it with white tea. White tea tastes yummy, just like Lipton. I promise you, I don't lie. White tea, I make my iced tea with white tea, some, brown sugar, a little bit of honey, some lemon to alkaline it up, and I add that soursop leaf to it. That is an anti-cancer. If you want to make sure that you maintain health and you live into 107, add that soursop to you. If you can get the fruit, eat it every day.
So that's actually a fruit.
Absolutely. Okay, we just heard a few things, and I want to make sure that we're gathering this information. So we already know that instead of white processed sugar, brown sugar is better for us. And we heard that the dandelion, the root of it is very good. Green, green, green. That's all we gotta say is green. You know, Grandma, I tell her, she says ancestors all the time, and I always say Grandma was always right. Grandma always said greens and cabbage and things like that, you know. And we're learning, young people, we can learn a whole lot and live much longer. Now I believe someone has their hand up and had a question. Can you speak up real loudly with your question? Come up here so you can be heard on the mic. Come ask your question.
Is fish healthy too?
Okay, very good.
Good, thank you. Very good. That beautiful young lady right there asked a very relevant question. Is fish healthy? Well, maybe. Depends on the kind of fish you consume and where that fish comes from. Okay. Now, we know that over the last year we've had a lot of spills in the water with BP that had a big thing, and that's not too far from us because remember in that little area that is filtrated to us, they also put a chemical base in the water that to anti-clumping things so they were able to clean it out, but it's still in that water. Okay, so let's go with the type of fishes first and then my opinion. There's several different types of fish. Okay, yes, the young lady asked about fish. Oh, where'd she go? Okay. No worries. Fish, can anyone tell me what's the number one fish that they eat at home? Does anyone have?
I would say tilapia.
Just shout out if you have.
Okay, anybody else?
Snappers.
What did she say?
Snappers.
Oh. Okay, you get a thumbs up on that one. Anybody else? Bass. Oh, bass. Excellent, excellent freshwater we have. And the young man in the back? What did he say? Did you say? Regular fish? Okay. Okay, that could be any number of things. Okay. Let's start with the tilapia. The tilapia doesn't get a thumbs up in the community, and it's also a genetically modified fish. It's not natural. It's not natural. Tilapia is something, if you see it, it's not a healthy looking fish.
Even if it's farm raised?
No, farm raised is actually worse.
No. I'm sorry.
Fresh, wild. Yeah, it's not normally from the wild. Tilapia has been created in a laboratory. It is something you should avoid like the plague. Wow. Don't put that on record. Anyway, avoid tilapia. They promote that in urban communities for a reason. That's another conversation another night. Be mindful of that one. Ladies in the back from the West Indies, red snapper. You want to put it with red snapper and some onions. Okay, that's a plus. Red snapper is a natural fish. It is a fish that is very prevalent in the Caribbean. It is a fish that also, remember in the Bible, I think it says something about scales. Don't we consider, I have a pamphlet on anyone that about Jesus being a raw veganist, but that's another conversation. And also saying don't consume anything that doesn't have scales. Okay, catfish is a no-no. It eats from the bottom. It is a dirty fish. And that's a fish that will cause you a lot of health issues later. Okay, the sir right here, bass, phenomenal fish, very costly, but worth every penny. Bass is a very good fish. It is filtered out of your body very nicely. You do pull proteins from that beautifully. Bass, red snapper, swordfish, which I'm not a fan of taste. Swordfish is actually okay for you. Nobody said seafood? Oh, yeah. Salmon. Okay. Salmon has changed over the years. Salmon used to be a phenomenal fish that everybody thought was a good fish to eat. A lot of it is genetically modified now. Even wild. Wow. And because salmon swims in a certain part of the water, I would say that I wouldn't even consume it now because of all the toxins of BP. So you want to be mindful of that. So salmon is great. Don't get me wrong. It in its natural state and natural waters would be the go-to. Right. But because of all the chemical base in the waters now, I would say stay far away from any form of salmon. It's my opinion. Now you will get different opinions from other people. Tuna. Oh. Tuna. Okay. Tuna from a can?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Fresh tuna. Okay. Fresh tuna is good. Fresh tuna that's caught and killed right then and there. Now, the difference between us here now as consumers and back in the days is that most of us used to go to the places where they had fish markets.
where they didn't freeze the fish. The fish were caught maybe the day before, and they were still pretty much alive, still on ice, and then you bring them home and you cook them.
Right.
Much of the fish that you're purchasing now has been dead maybe 2 weeks or more, depending on what chemical they put to make it look pretty for you, in formaldehyde or what have you. We don't know. But if you're buying fish that has been killed and it has not been killed within, and I hate to, vegetarians always use these words like kill and flesh. I'm sorry. But if it has not been killed within 2 days, you should not be consuming it. You are getting basically nothing. It's just like the plants. If you are eating vegetables, things that have been sitting in the market too long, it depreciates as the time goes on. And they spray a lot of these things with chemicals to make them look pretty for you. And those chemicals that make it look pretty to preserve your body. So salmon, bass, phenomenal. Red snapper, swordfish, stay away from the catfishes, anything that eats off the bottom. Shrimp, though it may be very tasty, I love the taste of shrimp when I was eating that, but it is why most people have issues today, neurological issues. The ammonia, if you have ever had someone who's allergic, anybody allergic to any fish or any seafood? No? Okay. A lot of that, anybody allergic to any of the crabs or the lobsters or the shellfishes, it's because after certain days of decomposition, it emits ammonia. And that's where you're getting that allergy from. If you eat shrimp that has been killed, I'm not a fan of shrimp at all because it eats from the bottom. It's just as naughty as a catfish, okay? Catfish probably tastes good, but it eats a lot of garbage. And that garbage is being filtrated in your body. Okay, so you want to try to avoid anything. Also, lobsters are almost like cockroaches of the water. Lobsters and crabs. They're bottom eaters. And it's not a judgment. I'm not judging the roaches. I'm sorry if anybody's offended by that. But they eat everything and they eat dead flesh. So anything that's decomposing in the oceans, that crab and that lobster is consuming.
So you're making me want to eat sunflowers.
I can't believe this, man. So okay, I'm gonna get with your question in a minute. So shelled sunflower seeds are unshelled. Both either is okay. Either.
As long as it's not processed, it's not cooked or I say it's okay if you're going to eat it and you enjoy it. Whatever starts you off is fine. But you have to be able to consume it raw.
Oh, okay.
Raw in its raw state.
Okay. Let me get the question over here. Stand up.
You don't have to be on camera, dude.
I was saying regarding the fish,
yes.
You could tell that the fish is like a couple of days, day old by looking at the eyes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, in the mouth.
That's right, and people like to cut off the heads. Do not buy a fish with its head on, so you can see that.
We do.
You can see that. Well, no, you can cut it off after you've seen that yourself. But that's very important. I'm glad you made that point. Very good. Very good.
And I have a few comments about what about seaweed?
Oh, now yes. Okay, now do we want to get into that? Because that's a whole conversation. Absolutely. Yes, seaweed is phenomenal for your health. I give it to my daughters daily. It is phenomenal for people of all cultures and colors, but especially for melanated people because of our thyroids. Any of us who went over that transatlantic ocean, the ones who survived had either hypo or hyper thyroid issues. So what happens is that the ones who survived were able to do it because of that quality. But that is what we're lacking in the thyroid is iodine. So you don't get iodine from salt. Please do not buy iodine salt. It does not do anything for your thyroid. You get something like bladderwrack, which is a type of iodine, which is phenomenal. We can talk about that later if you'd like to ask me a question about that. Seaweed.
Yeah, we use seaweed. And we use sea salt.
Sea salt, phenomenal, excellent.
Yeah. Coconut oil. I made coconut oil. I could make coconut oil.
Yes.
So, I just like recommending it. That's all.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And with the the olive oil is like so many different types of olive oil.
We were talking about cold pressed. Remember, olive oil. You want to be mindful of the processing. Some people don't do well with the type. There's fresh pressed. There's medium heated. There's different kinds of elements. I always go with cold press. It is the least processed form of it, and it does well in your body. Your body will process that because it's more natural. Okay, same with coconut oil. Coconut oil, the one that I can't, it's odd. Though I love coconut oil and consume, I cannot put anything that's fresh pressed coconut oil on my body or ingest it. But if it's cold pressed, it's fine.
I have a question on that. When you go in the store and you're looking for the olive oil, I've never seen cold press.
Yeah.
It says it on there.
Yes.
I mean, I see virgin or
yes.
whatever, but
it could be virgin. It'll be virgin, but it'll be virgin cold press.
And it says that on
absolutely.
the label.
I should have put that in. I had one, yeah.
Okay, with the sorrel?
Sorrel.
You were talking about sorrel?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll make my one. I got seeds.
Very good. See, and this is actually good. That's actually something to make at home. Exactly. And what is sorrel good for?
Well, the bases say everything.
Everything, absolutely, and liver basis, yes. Men should be drinking that.
Bad.
Well, depends on who makes it. Depends on who makes it, right? Yeah. There's some yum, and also, wait, do you want to get into the type of, does anyone, I know you do the, what is it, the Irish moss. I know you do Irish moss. Do you do Irish moss?
No, but I know about it.
Okay, Irish moss is something for the West Indies as well.
Yeah.
And you make it, and some people put rum in it. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's a nice thing. But also, it can be a creamy texture, and we'll get into that as far as another. That's phenomenal for males as well.
How about fish oil?
Fish oil is phenomenal, depending. Cod liver oil is phenomenal when it's not processed, raw. There's a very expensive one. I have it in my notes. Please ask me afterwards. I can give you the information. It is phenomenal for teeth, for decaying teeth. You should not be using any fluoride in anything, including the water that you drink. It is part of the, it was part of, back when it wasn't, when it was used like it was supposed to, it's put in rat poison. It was used on the Jewish people in Auschwitz during the concentration camps. They put it in places, they put a high concentration of fluoride in waters where there's prisons to keep the people very sublime, very passive. It is put in our waters. Most other countries refuse to put it in. You're putting it in on your children's teeth, which means it is going right into them. If you read the label on the bottom of the warning, it says if you digest that, you have to call for emergency. You do not ever want to put fluoride in anything. That is my recommendation, and I hold by it, and especially if you're a melanated person, that causes neurotoxins, and a lot of children, especially male children, are highly susceptible to neurological and depression issues later on in life, and some antisocial behavior.
Okay, with the eggs, you know, nowadays we could grow on chicken, you know that.
Yes,
And
we're talking about the chickens, we're talking about the white chickens and the brown chickens.
And don't go back, I don't think you go back what you feed them with. I grow some chicken before, and I fed them on ground the corn. I fed them on the corn.
Well, corn is genetically modified, so you gotta be mindful. It bloats their tummies up, and also it causes their flesh to be toxic to you. Okay. The
Ginger.
What is it?
Ginger.
Ginger. A phenomenal thing. Ginger is good for everything. Okay, we've got somebody who we need to add. Plethora of knowledge up here. Ginger is phenomenal for everything.
This is the one I was saying.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
I like that. It's good. Ginger is something you should have as a staple in your house. It's good for everything. Before you go and get a Tums, you should have some ginger to chew on in your house if you have a tummy ache, and also baking sugar. Absolutely.
Olive drink.
Yes.
Anybody else for questions?
Drink from the olive vera. What do you think of it?
Olive vera, well, now, olive vera is good to certain genetic pools. This is when we're going to get into the African American, who's mixed with mostly Native Americans, who are a combination of Afro and Asiatic people. And in the Caribbean, we tend to be mixed with the Indians from India, a lot of Asiatic mixed in our islands, the Arawaks and the Caribs. We have a different genetic makeup. And that's why genetics makes a difference. Aloe to those who have more Arawak or more indigenous, the natives here need to be cautious. Aloe over long periods of times can cause gastric issues. Okay. Again, this is where Western medicine doesn't really address that. When you go to the doctor, they ask you what you're feeling and so on, but they really don't study who you are, and you don't know who you are. So when you go to the doctor,
you basically getting a blind prescription. Okay, so when you know, ask about where you come from, get an idea. If you don't know, there's wonderful archives on the internet now which allow us to find out who we are as a people. Some of us we're indigenously from the Congo, some of us come from East Africa, a mixture of that. But again, we have to address that. So aloe is phenomenal for some, not all, like safflower oil. I have a problem with safflower oil in my body. Anybody from certain parts of Europe have issues with that, from southern parts of certain parts of Europe, southern Europe, who are mixed with the Moors, who are mixed with the Africans, North Africans, they have problems with safflower. So it depends on your genetic makeup. So I don't want to, aloe can be good. You know your body, you take a little bit, see how your reaction, see your neurological function. If your eyesight is good after you take an herb, you're good to go, okay? Your eyesight, usually if you get a little blurry or a little lethargic, or you'll feel something right away, especially if it's a newer herb to your body.
I think one of the good things is knowing your body. I hear that echoing over and over again. Paying attention to your body as well. We have another question over here.
What would you suggest for sinus issues? Like a buildup of mucus, something like that? Good question. Very good question.
It could be a number of issues, but do you drink milk?
Not a lot.
Any dairy? Cheese? Okay, how many times a week?
Well, counting cheeseburgers, probably a lot.
Okay. A lot of your sinus issues, mucusy, like hard breathing or just coming down?
Yes,
okay.
I don't have a cold.
Okay. I can give you a quick fix, but I'll give you one that you may be able to do, okay? What I suggest is taking most of the dairy out, okay? And stay away from beef, okay? I know, yeah, I could, you know, you gotta want to fix you too, you know what I mean? You know, anytime you have mucus in your body, I can tell right away it's from milk, dairy, and meat, okay? I haven't had a cold in many years, okay? It's because I don't consume meat. Okay, consuming meat hampers your system and your immune system. Consuming dairy will do the same. If you want your children not to have flus or flus, especially flus come from birds. Don't eat eggs or chicken. You won't get the flu. Okay, you don't need to take a shot for that. All right.
So now, and I want to push that question a little bit more with the congestion and, you know, people that have runny nose. It's not a cold, but like she said, you know, one of the biggest sales now is allergy medication. You know, it's all this allergy stuff or whatever. So if a person is consistently having the stuffy nose, the runny nose or whatever, but it's not a cold, besides the meat and dairy, so what else can they do to help with that?
I would suggest eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is phenomenal to burn in your houses. To also, they have a little, I use it for my girls, it's a little sniffer. Don't get it twisted. It's something you put in your nose. You sniff it in. It's eucalyptus. It will clear those passages, give airway. It almost like it works very medicinal for you. I would burn in your house in the oil all the time because of all the chemtrails and everything they have in the sky. You should be burning the eucalyptus in your house. Also, you should be having aloe vera plants next to your bed. The plant, the whole plant, it detoxifies the room.
All right. Okay, okay, any more questions?
I'm gonna call them all at one time. I got sweet potato or potato. Sweet potato, basically, because you got different types. You got peas and you got cinnamon. What do you have to say about any of those?
I'm not a fan of starches. Starches, potatoes, sweet potatoes, yams. Yams, if you are menopausal, yams work phenomenal for you to build up your estrogen levels. Okay, put them underneath your arms. Some of the old French island women put it underneath their arms as a deodorant, as a way. But it also helps to keep your estrogen levels level. Okay, because menopause is not natural. It happens because we've depleted ourselves over many years. That's another conversation. Peas are not healthy. Peas are very toxic to your body over a period of time. Be mindful with peas. Anything in balance, anything in moderation is fine. Peas are not good for your body. What was the other one?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon is phenomenal for diabetes. Anybody who has diabetes, pre-diabetes, knows somebody diabetes, pregnant woman who has diabetes, you should be having a glass of healthy distilled water, if you have a good filtration system, non-fluorinated, with cinnamon every morning. You will absolutely, you will balance out your pH all day long. Okay? Cinnamon and water. You can put it underneath your mouth. You can chew on a cinnamon stick. That's even better.
Me too?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, honey.
Cinnamon and water.
Yes. Yes. You should, before you, the first rule of thumb when you wake up in the morning, the first thing that should go in your body, because you've just gone through a process of processing everything overnight, your body's gone through cleanse, you should have a glass of room temperature, I say distilled, but I'm saying good quality alkaline water, about 8 ounces, before you put anything in your body. That is the first thing that should go in your body, okay? And some sunshine, some fresh air, and then go slowly through your eating process. Eat the most heavy meal should be somewhere between, you should be starting your meals from about 12 noon to 7 p.m. should be your latest meal. That is when you will be pulling all your minerals. That's when you can utilize everything in your body works its best. Anything after 7 p.m. you might be doing more detriment, more harm than good. Okay? And anywhere from 7 p.m. to 4 p.m. your body's going through a process of pulling and utilizing those things for minerals for your body to resell. And if you come from, again, you're a melanated person, that's when you regenerate. If you notice people of color don't age, it's not natural. It's because we go through a process at night, which our melanin assists with, and it allows us to regenerate. And if you allow it to happen, you'll never age.
Wow.
Aging is not natural.
So you're saying no eating absolutely after 7?
Absolutely.
No food or anything?
Water's fine, alkaline water.
Wow.
It takes a lot of planning. And I want people not to feel overwhelmed. I know this is a plethora of information, but if you just take little steps, do a little bit. And one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this, because for years I watched my mom in her sickness with high blood pressure and different things like that. And I've always looked for answers. And, you know, thankfully I've been able to do better, you know, but it's been eating cauliflower and broccoli and salads and carrots, and my family thinking I was going crazy when I said we couldn't have meat, you know, or if we had meat, just a little bit of things, you know, and we shouldn't be, oh, I'm so glad you're here, and we shouldn't be eating hamburgers all the time and things like that. And even though we are a busy family, there's a way that it can be done. You know, we just have to take a little bit of planning and take all of this. I would rather be eating the fruits and the vegetables than giving other restaurants and things like that. And one of the mothers here at the church said, why are you giving those people all your money when you could be just cooking your own stuff at home? So she's given us a lot of ideas, in which I have a book, a healthy book that I'm always reading and getting ideas, the cinnamon and all of the what is it, the vinegar, the apple cider vinegar, okay? Yes. All those different things, just things that we can do. So this is a great segue into the diabetes area. We want to talk a little bit more about that. And then Dale is going to go to the table and show us some things. We talked about how we can go to Whole Foods and get a nice discount. I know I love Whole Foods, and I'm not giving them advertisement, but natural places and fresh markets. But here's the thing that happens to so many of us. You can go down to the corner store and buy chips and things like that that's bad for you for much less than getting good stuff. So now what we're trying to do is help us in learning that it's more important for us we might spend a few more nickels, dimes, or pennies, or whatever, to get the things that's going to help us be more healthy. So we're going to segue. Do we have a question before we move on? We got a couple of questions. Okay, we're going to start in the back and get the question in the back.
make sure this one is,
That was all.
you know. Hear that?
Okay, yes.
I took your light out. Who's first?
Him right there in the white shirt.
I love it.
My coach got diabetes.
Your coach has
Ah,
diabetes.
interesting.
Okay.
Thank
Wait,
you.
so you're gonna get information that can help him. You can take it back, give him the information. Okay, and it's be
Hi.
Hello.
I came in when you were talking about the fish, so you may have already addressed this.
Okay.
It's like suddenly tilapia came out of nowhere.
Did you notice that?
I mean, it just
Sideswiped
popped. I'm like,
people.
where did that come from?
Yeah.
You know, but I eat it, but I'm wondering, is that
It's
harming
altering
me?
your DNA, honey. It's altering you. Anytime you eat something that's unnatural, it changes your makeup. Okay? It's purposefully done too. But that's another conversation. Be mindful if you've not heard of it. If your grandma didn't eat it, don't touch it. That's the easiest way that you can get by on stuff. If you've not seen it before, you know, wonderful thing about technology now is that you can Google 90% of these things. And I'm going to give you some great practitioners, Dr. Sebi, Layla Africa, Jewel Brookman, who are my mentors, who you can go to for that help and assistance as far as what to go to. A lot of the grains that our ancestors consumed, like teff, quinoa, spelt flour, those are the things that resonate well in your body.
But when you say it's altering my DNA,
It's altering you.
what kind of symptoms would I see that's doing that?
First, you'll start to see things like joint problems, joint ache problems, lower back issues, knee issues, okay? You might get some audio issues. Eyesight is usually a good detail of something going wrong. If your eyesight gets a little worse. Itching, scratching, also lethargicness, tingling, lack of circulation.
I've had all that.
Okay, that's a detail of the changing. It's altering you. Okay, you know, whenever you can counter those things as well. I mean, you know, I try to tell people be balanced. I give you this information just for you to service yourself. Really, you can do it how you see fit, and you can do it in a way that's tailored to your needs. And you can do it slowly. I don't want you to go and just jump into something not really knowing what's going on. You can temper yourself by maybe taking out the tilapia and adding bass. Maybe doing a little red snapper. Some people are funny with red snapper because it may not be indigenous to what they ate, but try it. Or go to a friend's house, you know, say, you know, the ladies have a little soiree, you know, let me taste, you know, taste your food, okay? That's how we used to do. We congregate together and we taste each other's food. That's love, that's community, okay? Try a little bit of that. Eucalyptus is a great thing. There's some other herbs that I can give you that can counter. Chewing on peppermint actually helps to counter some of these things. Thuja, which is an herb that I highly recommend. That's something for the youth, and we can have a discussion on any of the. Okay, Thuja. Thuja is one of the herbs. Are you American bred? Okay. You're probably mixed with a lot of Native Americans, which is wonderful, and I like that because I can give you something easy to do. Go to a pine tree and start chewing on the pines. Wash it off a little bit, get a little apple cider vinegar, chew on that pine. You get some vitamin C from pines. You want to get the best vitamin C, chew on pines. The pine needles, okay? Or put it in a tea, okay? And chew on that. That'll counter some of the things going on as far as chemical that you may consume, something you consumed that was toxic, okay?
My other question was about joint pain, so we'll kiss that. Lavender. What is lavender good
Lavender is
for?
phenomenal. It's a soothing herb. It's great for your skin. It works to, it's a great herb if you're dealing with depression, anxiety. You can put it in a tea form. You can put it in a room. The frequency of the lavender itself will uplift you. It's great for your neurological functioning.
But not for pain.
It can be.
Do you have anything natural for pain?
Absolutely. Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha. Ginger's good. Ginger's good for a lot of things. Ladies over here have got the point. Ginger's good. Chewing on ginger can help with pain. Ashwagandha is also a wonderful herb. It's Indian-based, thousands of years. They've been using ashwagandha. It's great for pain. I say, before you take any pain medication, have this little tincture. When I say tincture, it's like a little dropper. Put about 30 drops in water. Take that. Soothes you. Actually, it's a good calming thing for children as well. Ashwagandha. Okay? And also for cayenne peppers, actually. We have a young lady here who does, she grows a lot of her own things. This is all home-based. This is coming from ancestry. And a lot of this is passed down. But for pain, do that. But lavender is good for mind, body, and soul. Ginger is good to chew on. But ashwagandha is good for pain. Okay? If you're having pain in your joints and your muscles, that's inflammation. And that has to do with putting something toxic in your body. The quickest way to get rid of everything in your body, and it's actually not that hard, is to do a little fast for a couple days on green juice. And your whole body will be physically back into place, okay? It's tough for the first 3 days, and why fasting may be tough for others is because we do consume, if you're consuming flesh or meat, you do have a little bit of parasitic infestation. I don't want to get into this. You have that in your body, and the cravings will come from those entities in your bodies pulling for that resource of sugar and flour, white flour, okay? But after the third day, I promise you feel like a goddess. And all those joint pains will be gone.
Who do we have back here?
I want to emphasize too one thing she just said: sugar and white flour.
Sugar and white flour.
If we wipe away some of that, it helps. And I'm only backing up what she's saying because I know that over the years I've tried to reduce a lot of that, and I've seen the difference in my body and how I feel. Joint pains and things like that. I always said anything my grandma and my mom had, I'm not having it. And so I tried to change my diet. And for those people that are, concerned about weight and things like that, the fasting, we know spiritually we fast, okay, because that's a higher plane in God, a closeness to God. But cleansing your body, just think about it. You're not taking something in, and your body is study flushing it out, flushing this out of your system. So then your body becomes clean. And so it takes out. Inflammation is one thing that I've, been fighting against for a long time because my grandmother had arthritis and all that. Now, I heard you all mention about the aloe vera. I drink a lot of aloe vera because I know that it's supposed to help take out the inflammation. So far, I've not, even though I have Native American in my blood, it's not been an issue with me. It helps me a whole lot. I can feel the difference. Even like if my fingers hurting or whatever, I can drink some aloe vera juice and I can feel the difference in my body. And just to kind of back up, I've lost over 50 pounds, changing my body. And it wasn't something that I could do overnight. And I have to drag my family kicking and screaming with it, about not eating meat and not always having sugar and not always doing those things. But it can change, and it makes a difference. You'll feel the difference in your body, not as sluggish and everything. And it just makes a difference. You'll want to exercise where you might not have wanted to do that anymore, even if it's just walking. Because if we go back to, how we started off and everything, we didn't have cars to drive. We walked everywhere. So that's going to help us a whole lot as well. We had another question back there.
What's good for your skin?
Avocado.
Skin issues? Skin, okay. Topically or for inflammation, anything, pimples? Pimples? Okay. Generally, if you're getting pimples, it's sugar and white flour. Maybe get rid of some of that, do the brown sugar instead. Okay, stay away from starches. You're young, so if you're in, can I ask your age, is that okay?
16.
Okay, he's young, okay. Your hormones are also in influx right now. So what you want to do is kind of balance that. And sorrel is actually good for young men. And also, there's another herb, I can't think of it right now, it's for young men too. You want to make sure, I want to do something that you can do easily. I would add baking soda, which is, we're going to have this conversation in a minute because it's for anti-cancer too. Baking soda, about a tablespoon, and 8 ounces of water every day. you'll see your skin clear up. Also use apple cider vinegar. I haven't used soap on my skin since I was 15. I used, as 15, I had my first breakout. It was right before junior prom. And I remember getting a pimple, and I used, my mom bought me Neutrogena. I don't know, I'm showing my age here. Neutrogena, and it broke out my face and dried it up. I haven't used soap on my face since I was 15, but I do use apple cider vinegar every day as an astringent, and baking soda in my water will clear up your skin beautifully. Okay? And get some sunshine. Sunshine also helps for melanated skin. It's, you know, it detoxes us. Okay? Did I answer? Yeah.
Where do you get your knowledge from?
God. I mean, I've studied for many years, and in my youth, I've studied under the best, the most phenomenal practitioners who have a love of self, First Temple, and have had a love for our community. And I'm so grateful to have had them mentor me as a young girl. And also I've been touched by higher, you know, God source to always want to do something different for myself. I come from island people, so we do have that herbal base. A lot of island people tend to go to, you know, the herbs first before we go to the practitioner. And that's a good thing. A lot of Native Americans here have done that, but of course, there's not many here in concentration, and a lot of, and I do speak about this a lot of African Americans are mostly Native American mix, and that's a history that needs to be talked about, because a lot of the genetic issues going on with the inflammation, the arthritis in those communities has to do with a lot of the allergies that the Native Americans have, which Native Americans are highly allergic to sugar. That's why they are addicted to alcohol, which is distilled sugar. Okay? So the allergy causes inflammation. And if you get away from those sugars, now there's a whole lot of different healthy sugars. If you feel like you want sweetness, I say fruit is a good resource, but if you want to add sugar, maple sugar, which is a little more costly, is phenomenal. Also brown sugar. You can't go wrong with cane, natural cane. Now, there's another one called tamarind sugar, tamara something sugar, stay away from that. I don't know what that is, it's newer. Cane sugar, evaporated cane sugar, which I have on the table, we'll go there in a minute. You want to go with the brown sugars, okay? That's better for your body if you feel like you want sweetness. Also, stay away from high fructose corn syrup. Gentlemen in the back, okay? High fructose corn syrup works as a neurotoxin, number one. It causes, it's probably the reason why our rate of diabetes is skyrocketed. It's in everything, okay? And also for skin, which I just thought about, soy leche. Now, if you read a lot of your products at home that are processed, soy is added to everything. And soy is estrogen based. Our males should have no soy in their diet, especially in his age group. Soy feminizes boys as young. A lot of your water bottles have BPA, and BPA tends to add that chemical base in there that builds up estrogen. Why we're having so much aggression in our communities is because of all the soy, and what it's doing to the females is making them hyper-female, causing them to be more aggressive, more competitive. That's unnatural, and it's causing our males to be feminized. There's nothing wrong with males, being nurturing and loving, but what it's doing is it's causing an imbalance in their hormones.
Okay, you moderate, does moderate avocado?
Avocado's a phenomenal thing for your womb, for your womb, all this in the middle for women. Avocado is something you can make natural, you can make it in a blend, put a little lime juice, a little cayenne in there. It's phenomenal to eat as a snack, a natural raw snack with some carrots or some celery or some raw red peppers. Anybody have skin issues, raw red peppers and some hummus? Yummy. You eat that, it's an anti-aging thing too. Okay.
We got nowadays that we learn about the rosemary.
Okay. Rosemary is good. It has some medicinal, it's almost like an anesthetic. It works like an anesthetic sometimes if you want to deal with rosemary on the skin. It's good for any irritation on the skin. It's okay. I don't really have much to say about it. You can add it, but in moderation. It's not something that I think is indigenous to us, and we haven't done enough studies on that yet, but I don't see it doing any harm in moderation, you know? Okay.
And with the real peppermint, the real peppermint, you talk about peppermint?
Yeah, real
peppermint. I grow peppermint tree, anybody need any?
Yeah, peppers. Yeah, and it should be, that's something, yeah, in my garden we had, when I lived previously, I lived in Pennsylvania, I grew 70% of what we consumed every winter. And peppermint, which was nice, spearmint, grew wild, and it's wonderful, and you chew on it and so on. Yes, yes, it's nice. And also, you know, also for skin problems, make sure you're not using chemical-based, this is another thing, chemical-based detergent. I make my own detergent. You want to know what I make it with? It'll take you 2 seconds to know. Borax, which is a natural, you know, cleanser, and baking soda. A little salt. Salt alters any coloring, dyeing on anything. And I add a little lemongrass or a little tangerine to it to make it smell pretty. And nothing smells. And I work out. I dance every day. And she can attest to that. I smell like a goddess. Okay, that. Detergent is also toxic for your skin. It goes into your skin. You should never put anything on your skin that you can't eat. If you can't eat it, you shouldn't put it on your body. Your body is the largest organ. Okay, people don't talk about that. You know, stuff we put in our hair, relaxers, anything in your hair that goes straight into here, your crown, that also goes into your brain, works with the, you know, we get a lot of our melanation from inside of us, the process that goes into detox us, and all those chemicals overwhelm your system. And any psychosocial issues we're having, again, just systemic in our communities. I speak about our communities because I'm a part of it. So anything systemically happening on a psychosocial level with aggression, with someone has to do with the feminization, the estrogen is in water bottles. And we'll talk about different type of bottles that you should be drinking from. And our males, please, the young males, oh, this is important for the young boys, any culture, color, anything. We've got to keep them off of these water bottles that are toxic and juice boxes. And what it's doing is it's going to cause them long-term health issues later on. And it's going to cause them some neurological issues now.
So you're talking about when they pass them to each other, or?
Just the chemical base.
Just the chemical.
There's different bottles that have a different reading on the bottom. We're going to go into that in a minute. Okay. There's leaching of chemicals. There's plastic bottles have leaching of a chemical called BPA. A lot of people who have babies, you know about this because they talk about it with mothers. But it does go into the bottles. Now remember, when those bottles are being shipped from other countries, other places, they're in hot bins, heating up that plastic. What do you think is happening to that chemical? There's a reaction, there's chemistry going on, okay? We're having a lot of issues with our males because of this. Autism is based on, you know, the shots that we give our, inoculations we give our children, and also the chemicals in the bottles, and also the fluoride, which is something that, again, I am not a fan of. Fluoride is the most toxic thing. They worked on, they utilize this in the concentration camps as experimentation on the Jewish people, and they utilize it in the jail system, the prison system, okay?
Okay. We're going to segue on into some of the products that she has brought us, and because we want to make sure that we're covering the diabetics and the things that we eat, what we put in our bodies, and the products that we can buy to make a difference. And we're going to be ending soon, so we want to make sure we're covering all of this to make sure we're healthy. Looks like we're going to have a second show on this because it's so much information, and we want to see some results. That's what this is all about. I'm going to ask Dale, I'm going to put my order in right away. I want to try some of your detergent.
Oh yes, yes, I can do that. And deodorant.
Yeah.
I make my own deodorant.
Because there's been times that people need things like that. And I know I had to get off a regular detergent because my skin was going loopy. I was messed up totally. Okay. So I'm hearing a whole lot. So we're going to take a look at some of the things that's on the table.
Okay. We're going to, let's start with the juices. Okay. Now, I'm a fan of juicing. You know, if you want to be as healthy as possible. Now, juicing does not work for diabetics. So if you are pre-diabetic or diabetic, please do not juice. You're getting almost like a dose of like pure sugar into your system, and it can cause a lot of issues. So this is for someone who's not suffering from diabetes, okay? So we have some of the things that I like to ease someone into juicing so that it's a pleasant experience. Because juicing for some can be phenomenal, you'll feel phenomenal, but I want you to taste it and like it, because that's how you'll maintain it, okay? So Adewale, which is, I love them, they make an organic carrot juice and they make an organic green juice, green smoothie. And it's phenomenal. It has a lot of wonderful, it gives you an idea of what's in it, but the green one, this is the carrot one, the green one actually has sputrinella. And again, we talked about the melanation, and people of color should really be having that green stuff. But sputrinella is wonderful for detoxing. You should get that green. So if you have a busy day and you work and you have to do, or you're taking care of little people, you might want to buy Adewale if you don't want to juice every day. It's easy breezy. You don't have to clean a juicer every day. It's a good way to get somebody who's unhealthy at home to get their green stuff in if they're not a fan, and it's yummy. My little girls love it, okay? And that's a sign. And you can do naked too. I bought this. I don't love the taste. I have a friend who loves, I brought it because I had it in, I drank it because they ran out of Adewale, but they're naked, and you'll see naked a lot. I like them. They have a lot of good stuff in here. Again, a lot of the green. It's called the Green Machine. It shows you, it tells you everything, and what you want to do is always make sure when you're reading your labels, everything you can pronounce, and you know what it is, okay? Rule of thumb, if you can't pronounce it, it shouldn't be going in your body, okay? Now, this is something that for the ladies, okay? Blackstrap Molasses Plantation. I can't tell you enough about this. If you Google it, you will fall in love, okay? This is phenomenal for the womb. Anyone suffering or knows someone suffering from fibrosis, any tumors, anything going on in that area, blackstrap molasses will shrink those and make it go away. Also for ladies who have gray hairs, this will, for most, get rid of gray hairs and reverse that. It's high in mineral and iron. It has a lot of trace minerals. You should put this, when I go dance and I do Latin dance, I put this in my water with some apple cider vinegar and some sea salt, and I can dance for 3 hours with no break, easily, okay? This is phenomenal for your body. Again, women, this should be a staple in every house. And if you know someone who's suffering from anything that has to do with the womb, anything, you make her take this every day. I tell you, it will reduce everything, and it'll probably make her better. Yes?
You take the gray out of me, is that you?
Yeah, yes it will. It reverses. Because a lot of reason, again, and this is, I have to say it's my opinion, but I know it to be fact for my world, is that aging is not natural. It happens because we depreciate ourselves. We consume a lot of things that depreciate our body. And if you're a biblical person and you've read this, those people from those days lived longer because they weren't consuming the garbage. And why we're consuming is we're very slave-based too. And this is a very sensitive topic for our people, but we're consuming a lot of the food that was given to us as scraps. And if you look at when you go to a pet store, right? You go and get a guinea pig, right? They give you the food that guinea pig eats, right? But when we came across the Atlantic, we were not given our indigenous food. We actually consumed whatever was given to us. So that has all dilapidated our health and our peace of mind. So rule of thumb again, if you can't read it on the label, don't consume it. Okay, coconut oil, the ladies back were stating this, coconut oil is phenomenal. Dr. Bronner's makes a good coconut oil. This is not cold pressed. This is not something I put on my skin, but I do purchase it to do other things, to brush your teeth and do, if you have teeth issues, take a little bit of coconut oil in your mouth in the morning before you eat, put it in your mouth, squish it around. I know it's gonna be hard for about 10 or 15 minutes. It replenishes the enamel on your teeth. It helps to coat your teeth, also detoxifies you, and then spit it out, okay? If you have any teeth issues, also baking soda you should be brushing with. I'm not a fan of toothpaste just because of the chemical base. Easy way for you to use toothpaste, if you have any clove oil is great for gums, any gum pain, any teeth pain. Get some clove oil, essential oil, put it in your water, put that in your mouth, the pain will be gone, okay? Okay, so we have things like the seaweed. Now this is a snack that I bring with me everywhere. I'm not a fan of doing starches. Starches are highly toxic for your body. And when you say starches, what is that? Anything in the potato chips. Potatoes are magnified in our community everywhere. Everybody has French fries and potato chips, and you wonder why we're sick. It's toxin. And places where potatoes grow underneath the ground, they grow underneath, and a lot of places that consume the most amount of potato, you saw a degeneration of their bones. Also, you see them, their height was also stultified. Okay, it's also rice. A lot of rice consumption has arsenic. Rice has arsenic if you're not washing off your rice. A lot of old school people still wash off their rice, like my mother always washed off her rice. I didn't understand why. It's because there's arsenic on it, a slight amount of arsenic. If you notice places that they consume the most amount of rice, their heights are lessened. People are a little shorter, just because of arsenic. Okay, so you want to, if you're going to consume rice, wash it off, and try to deal with brown rice. I say go to brown rice, do an organic rice. You know, I don't want you to spend a lot of money on rice, but you shouldn't be eating rice every day. Okay, seaweed is phenomenal. Great snack for children and adults alike. Okay, this is great, and I tell you, it is yummy. I think last time we were here, a couple people tried, they were like, oh my God, I would never think to eat this. And they asked me, like when we're going out with the girls and they're eating this, they're like, what is that? And they tasted it, it tastes good. If you have a chip addiction, do this. You'll love it, and it's phenomenal for your thyroid, okay? Now, as a vegetarian, you're gonna see a lot of my vegetarian mixes here. Now, for the little people, Honest Kids is probably the most honest juices that I deal with. It's pretty stringent, filtered water. Your juices should always have filtered water in it, and you should not be having more than 1 cup of juice a day. You should be consuming water, alkaline water. And again, we talk about alkaline water, put a little lemon in water, a cucumber slice in water, that alkalines it. Baking soda, which is, okay, cancer is on the rampage. Cancer, all cancer is a fungus. So it's fungus that is developed over your overconsumption and toxification of your body. Baking soda is what they put when they do chemotherapy as well, or carbonate right before they give you chemo. It will get rid of it. I'm not a doctor, it is my opinion, but I have seen it do that. If you do baking soda, a tablespoon of baking soda and 8 ounces of water every day, you will increase your longevity of your life. Your body's pH will be phenomenal, and it alkalines your water. Okay, the pH in the water rises.
Cucumbers too?
Cucumbers are phenomenal. Cucumbers are great for everything. You can use it, but put it in your water. If you don't have a lot of time, the night before, slice a couple pieces of cucumber, put it just in a bit of healthy water. You know, when I say healthy, it's just distilled water or filtered water. Leave it in the fridge, and that'll alkaline your water for the morning.
Let me ask you this question. Can you, just the regular hydrated water,
yes,
can you boil it? Will that make it even better?
Well, no, because you have metals. There's a lot going on with our water sources. What I do at home is I have a filtering system, which I don't know, I spent $100-something on it. Was worth every penny. I put it's a 3-tier filtering system, and I put a magnet. I magnetize my water, which helps to make the molecules of the water smaller so my body retains it better. But boiling doesn't do anything. Distilled water is very inexpensive. You can get that, okay, in the store. Or just filter it, get filtered water, or get a filter. Because if you're buying bottled water, you can pay $100-something for a filter, and it's better. Okay, so it's cheaper in the long run. Okay, so we were talking about sugar earlier. Wholesome makes a wonderful sweetener. This is evaporated cane juice sugar, organic sugar. It's great. Also, you can be happy to know that this is not depreciating anybody else's country by buying and purchasing this. This is great. When you purchase something, you also want to be mindful where it comes from and the people that it's maybe impending on, okay? So, but this is a great sugar, brown sugar. I'm a fan of it. If you do sugar and you have to, if you want to do cane is the best sugar, okay? Maple is phenomenal. It's a little more costly if you can do that. Date sugar, dates. I have a date tree, and you can also make your own date sugar if you want to take that time out. Also, date sugar is phenomenal, okay? Coconut sugar is great for diabetics. Anybody who's diabetic, they have coconut sugar. It's great. You don't get that that boost into your bloodstream of this sugar that will cause you issues later. So coconut sugar is also a phenomenal thing, which they have now. What you'll notice is that I have a lot of vegetarian choices up here. I'm a fan of Curon. This is, I don't do soy for myself as a vegetarian because I know what soy does long term, but Curon, or I say Curon's meatless and soyless, and it tastes like chicken. It is phenomenal. I've had dinner parties where no one's known and a whole bunch of meat eaters coming to my house, which is already dangerous. But I make the most phenomenal food. They make chicken tenders. They make meatballs, which my girls love. They make chicken nuggets, which you would not know the difference. Chicken nuggets are already processed, so it's easy to mimic something that's processed because it's processed. You can make anything processed taste like whatever the other thing you like. So if you ever want to try something that's meatless and add that to your eating habits during the week, they're good. And they have coupons online. Go get a $1 coupon off and try it. And once you try this, you will never be sorry that you tried it. Okay? I'm a promoter of them. For those who want to consume things without dairy, there's a lot of ice creams now. Now they have so many choices. Back in the days when you were a vegetarian, it was rice milk or something that was not as yummy, and you'd be like, oh, I don't like this. This doesn't taste like ice cream. But this, it's So Delicious makes almond ice cream, and they make phenomenal coconut ice cream. This is yummy. Any coconut ice cream that you eat now tastes just as creamy, if not more delicious than any dairy ice cream. And you don't have a runny nose afterwards. You won't have any mucus built up from consuming dairy. So I'm a fan of that. You have things now, for those who don't, if you know that a lot of gelatin-based sweets for the children, like the, marshmallows, jellos, okay? They all have pork or meat-based, gelatin is like a combination of like dense stuff, crushed up meat and bones that are, helps to, and usually it's pork-based. So, back in the days, we had 5%ers. I don't know if anybody knows. 5%ers are like half Muslim and so on. They would always talk about the jello and the jelly beans and stuff. And I never quite understood what they were talking about. That was it. It was pork and a lot of the things. I was like, is that really true? And it is. So what I do is this is a different kind of marshmallow. It's wonderful. My girls, again, love this. And this is fish-based. So there's fish in here for them, and it's kosher with the gelatin. And there's also vegan ones that don't have any meat products in it at all. And it tastes just as good as marshmallows. They're not as inexpensive, but long term, they're phenomenal for your body. Yes, okay. We do have a cheese source. Now Daya, which is from California, any Californians in here from the West Coast people with health are phenomenal. They get a lot of sunshine, and they are great in all health and vegetarian lifestyles. Daya, if you want a slice of cheddar cheese, this is yummy, and it melts just like cheese. So grilled cheese and stuff I make for my girls. One is a fan of it, one doesn't. She doesn't like cheddar, but she likes the texture of it. So this is just as good as cheese, and it costs the same. Okay, Daya. Okay, you can also come up and write this down. Hummus, you ladies can make this at home yourself. Hummus is just with white beans. You make it if you can just boil a little bit and put in a blender and put, your spices and stuff. You can make hummus yourself. Hummus is a great protein source. It's a bean. Okay, you don't want to have too many beans because beans are a little acidic too. But some beans, again, balance. We discussed balance. A good amount of balance will bring you a long way. Okay, we have Annie's, who is big into organic grains. Now, I'm a fan of spelt. We talked about this earlier with heirloom grains. When I talk about heirlooms, you're saying, what is she talking about? What's an heirloom? Okay. Heirlooms are the grains that our ancestors consumed. Teff is from Ethiopia. Spelt is something that's older. These are grains that were not just genetically modified to meet with standards of consumers right now, okay? Any heirlooms means that it's 50 years or older, a grain from back in the day. So this will resonate with your body. When you consume it, you won't get gassy, you won't get bloated, and you won't collect fat as easily. Okay? Spelt, I'm a fan of spelt. Quinoa is great. Teff is nice to make nice little flat breads. Also, ladies, if you want to work with cellulite, if you get a lot of cellulite in your body, it has to do with yeast, okay? And cancer has to do with yeast. If you're consuming a lot of risen breads, pizza, things that are raised with yeast, that's going to build up your likelihood of perhaps getting a form of cancer later on. Yeast is not something you should be cooking with or having, and you know, a lot of people may not be happy with that, but that's a lot of reason why we build up fat storage around us too, by consuming a lot of breads and meats. Okay, ketchups. If you're going to consume ketchups, now I don't know, the island ladies, do you have banana ketchup? We have banana ketchup where we come from. Banana ketchup. Banana ketchup, I'm a fan of. You know, tomatoes are very acidic, and some people have issues with the acid. Okay, so if you have an issue with acid, there's a banana ketchup that tastes just like ketchup. It'll bug you out. It's that good. But it'll, just the look of it kind of flips you out. But if you are a ketchup fan and you have acid issues with tomatoes, go and get banana ketchup. You can get that. Whole Foods does not have it. You might have to go to an island-based store. And I'm not quite sure. I order it online, and I can give you a link to that. But when you buy your ketchup, high fructose corn syrup, people, please stay away from it. Again, we talked about it's a neurotoxin. It's terrible. It's probably the reason why we have a high risk of diabetes in our communities. Stay away from it. And what you'll notice is most of the things you consume have high fructose corn syrup or soy lecithin. And it'll scare you if you look at it. Castor oil. Ladies, castor oil is phenomenal for hair growth. It's phenomenal for constipation. If you have a child or a person who's constipated, you rub it counterclockwise on the tummy, they will be able to pass along whatever's stuck in there. It works just that easy. If you have hair growth issues, castor oil will make your hair grow like weeds. Anybody's hair grow like weeds. Pure castor oil. Black castor oil, I'm a fan with the Jamaican one, just because they have the purest form. You can buy it anywhere. Hexane free. Again, ask me this afterwards. I know there's a lot of information for you. Hexane free you want to get because it's the type of processing of the castor oil. You want to make sure you want to get the best for your buck, best bang for your buck, okay? Now, I have tons of other things up here, books that I'd like for you to look at. We have, I'm a fan of Queen Afua. She has a son, Remedy. If you ever listen to music with, oh, is that me? Oh. With Erykah Badu, Common, that's their schleppa people. Real big into greens, you know, elevation of the people and the mind. Remedy for the men, Supernova, he has a wonderful system, recipes and everything for a man to detox and be able to maintain his body at maximum fitness. And he's a man of color. This is raw transformation for anybody thinking about going raw or just doing it part-time. So it's nice to have. You may have heard of Kevin Trudeau. He is an author who wrote a book who talks about cookingware, things that you should be cooking with that will help to maintain your mind, body, and spirit, different remedies, all natural based. Phenomenal book. And I have a plethora of other ones up here that you can look through. And as far as diabetes, we want to make sure that we're discussing that if you are suffering or you're pre-diabetes or in that stage of diabetes 1 or 2, that you are getting your cinnamon in the morning, water. You should be having alkaline water. I would say for you to detox for a couple of days because your pancreas has been depreciated and is damaged. You can regenerate that pancreas, but you have to be willing to take out all the things and build it up. And by building it up, I mean I have a printout, which I didn't print out for you today, but you requested, I can send it to you, of a breakdown of what I gave a gentleman for his stage 1 diabetes, and he's doing phenomenally well. He was able to take off most of the medication that he was on, and he's living a phenomenally healthy life, and just a way of life that he would have never thought he could possibly live. And again, diabetes is caused by what you put in. Really, that's all it is. And if that is something that you have to want the change. If you want that, it's very easy to resolve. But we have to regenerate the body and be able to heal ourselves. But the first rule of thumb for any diabetic, you should be getting up in the morning, and that cinnamon is the most important thing to you. It will level off your blood sugar, okay? And there's a couple other supplements we can add into there, but you should be consuming only flesh, meat, sorry. It should only be about the size of your fist, okay? If you're gonna consume anything more than this, then this is a conversation that we're talking about that may not be of service to you, okay?
Thank God. Let's give her another great big hand, y'all. Miss Gail on Ministries. All right. We're gonna go take a break, and we'll be right back.
Well, I got one more.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting on the break too, one of the questions I had was, tell us some things. We like to eat, right? Everybody like to eat, right? Yeah. We like to have food here. And so if we were having guests, what's something that you would suggest we have? And I know we've been talking about diabetes and stuff like that, and you gave me over the phone just a few fruit that we could have as well.
If you want to have let's say we're having guests over at a dinner party, what you want to make sure you do is you have hummus is a great dip, which is a phenomenal, and it's a staple. You can have a hummus platter with red peppers sliced, cucumbers sliced, also some carrots sliced, also some celery sliced up on that. Also you want to be mindful not to mix up too many acid fruits and so on. So if you do something like a platter of fruit, you want to probably, if you want to stay along the line of, if we're consuming any meat that night, I would make sure not to add any lemon or limes or any very acid fruit to the table. What I'll do is the less acid fruits, more sweet fruits. So I might have apples and sliced apples, some sliced peaches, maybe some pomegranate on the side for some garnishing, some fresh dates, some seeds and nuts around to make the platter beautiful and pretty, and maybe sprinkle some cinnamon on top, maybe the apples and so on, just as a garnish. Also I love coconut yogurt. It's a wonderful dip for the children. So rather than doing the caramel sugar dip, you can do, in the middle for the children, you can do like sliced pieces of fruit, like the apples and the the pears, and you have the coconut yogurt in the middle for them to dip in, and also you can add raisins in there, or some dried cherries, which I like. I'm a fan of. And then for our main course of the dinner, we can do any number of things. It depends on the theme of the party. If we're doing more Indian based, we can have a curry dip. Maybe I'm a fan of artichoke. You can do artichoke in the middle, make a beautiful garnishing, and have a dip of olive oil and some lime for the dinner, and have a dip with that with sea salt. Also, we can do eggplant, which I like. Basted eggplant with maybe a little, I don't do garlic anymore, that's another conversation, but maybe a garlic garnishing, slightly seared on both sides over a platter of something like a replaceable type of meat, like a chicken or so on, diced on the side around, and a huge salad. And when I say a huge salad, I mean a salad. The salad should be, your salad in your dish should be more than anything else, and it should be pretty. When you want to consume something, you want to make it look appeasing, and to make a huge salad. So I like to always have a big bin of a salad so everyone can go in from side to side of the table. So I have a huge salad. I usually have some arugula, I love spinach. I'm a fan of spinach, diced red onions, on the side. I like olives to put on the side of it, some sheared off carrots. Also, I like mango. Sometimes I'll put mango on the side, depending on the night. I like to add in some, I like to chop in the mustards. It's a little tangy, the mustard, so I don't put too much. And then dandelions, I usually put in a blender to make them very small because they're bitter, and then put it on top. And then I usually dice some red peppers, yellow peppers, and what have you. So, gives you an idea.
Well, let's thank Dale for coming. We're so glad.